All right, I'm cheating a little bit here because MagicCon hasn't happened yet, but I'm just going to preemptively say a thank you to everyone who came to the meet and greet at MagicCon Atlanta. Those sorts of things are always the highlight of my events. Magic is always about the gathering, and it is so nice to meet fans who say, hey, you're my second monitor at work, or I fall asleep watching your videos. That sort of stuff means a lot to me. So, preemptive, thank you. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today Sammy has asked me to play with an Electrostatic Pummeler deck list, and this was quite the challenge to figure out, I'm not going to lie to you, and I'm not sure that I chose the best path forward for this deck. But before I get going here, let me just say that today's video is sponsored by IntoTheAM.com. All of the absolutely awesome t-shirts that I wear come from IntoTheAM.com. And here you can see one of their artists hard at work, and they are sketching out the Eternal Blossom tee, which is another one of these absolutely awesome spooky skeleton ones that they've got going on. Not the one that I've pictured here, but you can see the art up on screen. So if you're looking for some sweet t-shirts and you want to make sure that you know the art is not done by AI, check out IntoTheAM.com. You can use promo code ThrabenU to save a little bit on your order, and I will have a direct link to them down in the video description. So Electrostatic Pummeler is a little hard to brew around in Legacy right now, because this is a 3-mana creature that you need to untap with and then attack with afterwards, and hopefully win the game when you do attack. So when this creature enters, you get 3 energy, and you can pay 3 energy to give the creature plus X until end of turn, where X is its power. So obviously you want to do something to increase its power, and maybe something that can go and give it trample as well. And I have opted for kind of a green-white landfall shell here for a couple of reasons. Number one, the energy output that I get from this card could immediately just be used by Guide of Souls instead if I need to force combat damage right now. And number two, if I play this and then go Scythecat Cub, put fetch land into play, put some counters on it immediately, and then double its power afterwards, maybe that can end up being relevant. But it's possible that I should have just played a Boros energy deck where Electrostatic Pummeler is the top end of that deck. But I didn't like that because Amped Raptor wasn't going to be a good hit on Electrostatic Pummeler in a lot of cases because we wouldn't be able to cast it immediately as it costs more than 2. And number 2, it's not a red card to be relevant towards flipped Ajani. So I kind of went back and forth a few times. I did not like the infinite combo options for Electrostatic Pummeler. A lot of those took about 3 cards and a total of about 10 mana. And given how fast Legacy is, that did not seem particularly viable. So with a few mana dorks in this deck, we can play this on turn 2 and then try to do something sweet with it on turn 3. And so that we don't get disrupted when we try to have a big moment, we can just play Voice of Victory and say no to counter spells. It's not like Scale Up and Rancor have no real text if we are not combining it with an Electrostatic Pummeler. We can just kind of treat this as a 5 damage burn spell in many cases with something like an Ocelot Pride. Or if we put these on something that has some evasion already from Guide of Souls, we can be good to go here. And if these games go very, very long, I can do things like bestow onto some creature that is going to give me energy when it enters, and then start making copy after copy after copy, and then hopefully get through eventually. I'm not sure if I need more top end in this deck than just this. It's possible that maybe some of the warp stuff should go in here. It's possible that some ephemerate stuff to blink this and get more energy is viable as well. I kind of bashed my head against the wall for the better part of an hour before I decided, okay, I've just got to record with something, and I think this is reasonable. However, the last time that I recorded with something like this, I found that I was just repeatedly bringing in Endurance in the slot of the cute card that is in the list, And I suspect that we might feel that same way today, given how much graveyard nonsense is in this metagame. But hopefully we get to pummel a few people into the ground along the way. Alright folks, if you need any cards, please consider checking out my sponsor, TOAMagic.com. They're great. I am going to be selling a friend's collection when I go to MagicCon Atlanta in a couple of days. And, I put my money where my mouth is on this one. They get my business. They get my friend's business. Promo code ThrabenU saves you a bit on your order. Alright, let's battle. This is a hand that has a lot of potential to produce energy. We get turn 1 Guide of Souls, turn 2 Voice of Victory. On turn 3, the Voice of Victory gets to attack, giving me more energy. And then I play another Voice of Victory. Yeah, just chalice me. Just chalice me. Okay, that's not chalice. Are we show and tell? Are we moon stuff? Alright, that is a Tezzeret Cruel Captain. That is maybe not going to do a lot immediately, but could get very scary in a minute. And its loyalty is going to be high enough that this is going to be hard to check in combat. Ooh, opponent searching immediately here for an Aether Spellbomb. They can't play that immediately. Mox Opal is not online yet. And they pass the turn. That Rancor is kind of saucy. That lets me kill Tezzeret immediately. I'm in despite how awkward this is. Rancor. Very nice. No, not Asian hybrid. Attack. Tezzeret. Obviously don't have the energy to do anything yet, but taking that Planeswalker out of play and preventing another tutor or an untap is probably a big deal. If I had another land, maybe I don't make that play so I can guaranteed Voice of Victory plus Rancor on the following turn. There's 2 life down for something. It's the Spellbomb, that's fine. Boots are fine. Bobble's fine. None of these cards are the One Ring, which is basically the big thing that I am worried about here. And looks like opponent is just passing the turn. They get their redraw. So I think I'm going to try to attack my opponent before dedicating mana anywhere. We're not getting to enough energy to do the thing this turn anyway. Opponent's at 13. I think I just play a Voice of Victory, taking another 1 damage to do so. Okay, I did not necessarily expect to get that trigger off. I imagine that my opponent... No, they're gonna hold. Emery is fine. Emery Aether Spellbomb is annoying. Emery Bobble is annoying. Okay, opponent is going in immediately here. Targeting the Bobble. They're just going to go for another redraw. This is all fine. Sure. So they'll take 1 redraw immediately. They can't cast spells, but this Spell Bomb is still live. Sure. Well, I think I'm going to go ahead and go to combat here. We'll see if my opponent now wants to use a Spell Bomb. They do. So I will get my Rancor back. I really wish I had 1 more land here, so that I could keep deploying these things that are going to get bounced. But I cannot. That's okay. I can, at the very least, start getting this going. So I will make my cat. We're not quite to the city's blessings yet. It'll be really good if we do so with like Voice of Victory, Guide of Souls, and Ocelot Pride all in play. But I simply just need more mana. Is that Kappa? It is a Kappa Cannoneer. So this is a large creature, one that makes my blocking much more awkward. This means that my Ocelot Pride Guide of Souls nonsense is all staying in play. Means that I can give something flying. Sure, that's fine. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't have anything here that immediately produces 2 permanents. Rancor is the thing that does the most damage immediately, but is least efficient in terms of mana. I think I am interested in going wide next turn and guaranteeing that my opponent can't bounce 2 Voice of Victories out of play with Spellbomb. Oh, I can just make 2 things fly here, can't I? No, I have 1 Guide of Souls. JK. Let's make a Voice of Victory fly. So mobilize my 2, gain 2, say yes, put that on the Voice of Victory, and this is good for 4 points of damage. And just short of lethal. If I swung out, I could push 3 more points of damage there. Ooh, I guess if I Rancor, I think I had lethal there. Oops. It's probably fine. Yeah, I don't play Voice of Victory. I Rancor some random cat token or something, and then I think I have lethal. Thoughtcast is good. Emery targets a spell bomb, plays the spell bomb, and there we see the concession. So a little sloppy on my end there. So we're playing against 8cast. I believe that I had a very specific thing in mind when I built this sideboard, and opponent is going to feel that ire. I have realized a deck building flaw in that this is an artifact that has an activated ability. Well, I've made that bad, so I have to lie in it. That is something that I did not think about. I think if I thought about it, I still would do it. I need 2 more cuts here. I'll probably get rid of Bristly Bill and one of these here, and then I think about whether or not I want Path to Exile for Emery. I don't know that I want to overload on that effect. I think I'm going to call this good. If this game is an indicator, though, I might want 1 more land in this deck, just full stop. This is a very solid hand that does not have a Collector Oof. I think I keep it. Like, these are just very good Magic cards, even if it does not do the, like, very hateful sideboard thing that I want to be doing. That is a turn 1 Tezzeret Cruel Captain again. Immediately going to 5 loyalty for that Lotus Petal. Untapping a Mox Opal. And playing a Spell Bomb. Sure. I think given that my opponent has that active Spell Bomb, I just start trying to ramp immediately. And we'll see where this goes. My opponent is very, very ahead in terms of tempo. Thoughtcast for 1 mana. Another one. Wild. Sure. Don't like the way this is going. Another Mox Opal. And that is just a Tezzeret emblem. So opponent is going to try to make a stream of 3/3 creatures that will just beat me down. I think this is the first time I have seen this emblem actually be used in Legacy. Alright. Oh, so much for just killing that creature. The Aether Spellbomb makes the Scythecat cub significantly more awkward to try and go all in on. I think I just accept that as a thing that is occurring. I'm going to go Lush Portico here, just so I have more mana to work with in the future. I think I still take that. Opponent does not do something like Spellbomb me at end of turn there. There's a land drop. The emblem's scary. We'll see whether my opponent tries to go wide with this or tries to stack up things on one creature. Alright, I'm eating 6, and this is not gonna do what I wanted it to do anymore. Spellbomb also makes the bestow stuff pretty awkward. I think I am going for this. I'm just trying to do something that might bait my opponent into using the Spellbomb before I throw down Collector Oof. It was not successful. Still go for counters on Scythecat Cub. Not paying. Now I'll do this. My opponent could just float a blue mana in response and then take this right back out of play. There's a construct. It is a 5/5, unfortunately. But it's going to get bigger. Okay, they're just going to draw a card. Alright. It's in play. This is a start. But my opponent gets to make combat very favorable for themselves. I think if I keep hitting some land drops, we can talk about like just using insects to fog for a few turns, and then maybe I create an overwhelming presence. There's some boots that can't be activated. There's a land that can't be tapped. Oh, god damn it. They have a Kappa Cannoneer that can get around my Collector Oof because this has improvise. They're just going to throw up counters on that. Disgusting. And that's going to become unblockable. That is just going to kill me next turn. Assuming any artifact hits play. I could double block and take out the Lotus Petal. I can't hit land and Swords of Plowshares at the same time. I'm going to take 6. I think my opponent just came out of the gates too quickly with that Tezzeret emblem. Well, I can turtle up pretty well. So I will go Guide of Souls. Going to, I think, bestow onto Guide of Souls. Make a land drop. Going counters on Scythecat Cub, I suppose. I think I now fetch in response. Grab a Savannah. Yeah. Is this the right one? No. I'm gonna miss 1 life there. My bad on that. So this is the one on Noble Hierarch, so I say no to that. I'm gonna miss 1 life because I was going to make a copy of this one. Make another Guide of Souls. Now I don't have the mana for this. Go to 7, 8, and 9, and it's possible that 1 life matters. I'll send in. Yes, I will pay that energy. Yes, I will pay that energy. There's 13 damage. Yeah, now I die to 1 artifact instead of dying to 2 artifacts. Because I stacked that wrong. That's 1 artifact. Yeah, I lose this one because I stacked a trigger. No, I don't. The Kappa Cannoneer getting the 3 counters from Tezzeret still would have killed me either way. Well, I came back way more than I expected there. Was there a way that I do this where I stack Guide of Souls triggers and get lethal that turn? So I play 1 land drop. I make the Guide of Souls with the first one. And then maybe I can double up my counters and get my win there immediately. Or did I need to do that in order to get to... I had exactly 6 energy. Maybe that's not true, actually. I could think about Deafening Silence. I'm not gonna do it. This hand does not do anything. That's just too much mana. Double Collector Oof. I'll believe in this hand. I need my Lush Portico to get me to another land. Otherwise, this hand is pretty darn bad. Not unplayable, but definitely not great. I think I'm going to keep this one and get rid of Voice of Victory. Opponent has mulliganed once as well. And I need any land. That is not a land. That will go away. And now hopefully my opponent doesn't come out of the gates just with a crazy hand for the 3rd game in a row. Emery is strong. Emery finds Chalice and Lotus Petal. Reasonable cards. I miss on my land. That is not great. I think if I miss my land drop again, I am likely dead. Urza's Saga. Sure. There is a Chalice on 1, so now Ocelot Pride and Rancor are not valid anymore. I have missed on land again. I think I'm fully dead. That is disappointing. I can maybe draw a Force of Vigor. I have a few of those. I think I have 2 of those. But I don't think a Collector Oof is enough anymore. And honestly, if I was the opponent here, I would very strongly consider just casting a Chalice of the Void onto. Like, it's the cost of 1 Lotus Petal to lock me out of the vast majority of my cards, and they agree. So now I think I am on draw Force of Vigor, or I can't possibly win the game. Send in for 2. But this scaling that I am doing with this Ocelot Pride is simply not enough against 2 active Urza's Sagas with Emery keeping fuel coming from the graveyard. Yeah, so that Aether Spellbomb can take my Ocelot Pride out of play even. I think I'm going to see if my next draw is Force of Vigor, and if it is not, I will just concede. Wow. I guess that's not the worst. No, it is. I got excited that I drew the land, but we still haven't solved the Chalice of the Void problem. All right, I am just going to concede there. GG's. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. If you want to see upcoming sets, if you want to understand commander brackets, or if you just want an awesome place to store all, and I mean all, of your deck lists, Moxfield is the place. You can organize all of your decks by folders, And you can even change the views. You like visual, they've got that. You like text, they've got that. Check out my Moxfield Pro Field if you want to see all, and I mean all, of the decks that I've been cooking up. This is a very, very good 4-card hand that might become an insane 7-card hand. I'm going to say that this is a reluctant keep, and I think I would mulligan this one on the draw. We're in play. Polluted Delta into a Tamiyo. Nice. This is telling about how dumb Tamiyo is. I believe it is correct to do this. And Swords to Plowshares around days. Rough. I'll fetch. I think I need to assemble Guide of Souls Ocelot Pride now. So I do the thing, no point of attacking into the 0. Well, I guess it does not hurt. But it's just like very clearly a simple block for the opponent, right? So I'm wastelandable now, which I don't like, but I think I need to set up the possibility of casting Rancor or Scale Up the following turn to kill the Tamiyo Planeswalker if my opponent happens to have Brainstorm as one of the cards in their hand. Plot Seize. Alright, that's fine. My opponent gets a clue. Ooh, I am into that. Nice. So now I can fire in and say yes to this and put counters on Ocelot Pride so Ocelot Pride can't die to Orcish Bowmasters. Deal some damage to my opponent and get another cat token at end of turn. Might beat a City's Blessing next turn. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 with Voice of Victory, 10 with Rancor. Beyond that, I also might just have lethal next turn with Scale Up and Rancor and a Guide of Souls trigger. Alright, Tamiyo is getting in there. Tamiyo is not getting in there? Tamiyo is getting in there? Tamiyo is not getting in there. We fully overran our opponent. And let me just fully say that second land off the top so that I got to do this was pretty important. The hand was solid for a 4-card hand, but that second land set us over the top. So now we're in this unfortunate situation where we don't know whether or not my opponent is playing Reanimator or just a blue-black tempo deck. I don't know that it matters. I think we might just be doing this either way. And this is exactly what I was talking about in the deck tech, where the metagame is such that trying to do cute things is a rough sell. And I don't think I can just fill my deck with more 3-drops here. I need to cut 3 things to get these Path to Exiles into the deck. It's probably some number of Rancor Scale Up Bristly Bill. Let's say Bristly Bill goes, and like now I don't know like whether it's more important to get Rancor for pushing through Orcish Bowmasters, or whether it's more important to try to lower my opponent as their life total as quickly as possible so that they can't reanimate an Atraxa. I'm going to go down the scale ups and keep the Rancors. Rancor as a +2 burst to threaten a Tamiyo is still okay. Is it Reanimator or not? I think I just mulligan this one for not having 2 lands. This is fine. With no green card to pair with it, I think I get rid of the Endurance here, and I kick myself a little bit if this is Reanimator. But I think I'm just going to keep all of the removal spells and the land drops. I think the land drops are quite actively good in this deck. That's insane. That is a very good pickup here. I don't know whether or not I'm playing against Reanimator yet. If I'm playing against Reanimator, it's so important to get the threats into play as quickly as possible. And if I'm not, I could potentially wait a little while to play around days. Nice. We'll run this back again. I'm trying to save this as potentially a Surveil land, depending on how this game goes. Yield to that. And punchies for 1. Well, it becomes 2 after the Exalted trigger. 18. That is another Wasteland. Bowmasters is fine. I don't super care about that immediately. It's annoying, but it's not like I need to remove that right now or I'm dead. Another one. I think I just play Voice of Victory. And we're already going to be Wastelandable. I'll get another Savannah. There's Voice. Ooh, opponent did find a daze. I'm not attacking here. I get wastelanded. Opponent redeploys that underground sea. They don't have a good attack. Oh, I think I play Noble Hierarch this turn. Get Fatal Pushed anyway. This is fine though. Basic Swamp. Another Bowmasters. Don't love it. I'll take some damage. Endurance is not doing me a lot of good. This Ocelot Pride is in theory fine, assuming that I don't just eat it to a third Bowmaster. And honestly, I am potentially just going to use a removal spell on an Orc Army token. This is First Strike? Like, I'll shut up if you dress down me or whatever, but yeah. Alright, there is a Kaito. The First Strike damage has happened. Now regular damage happens. An opponent will Surveil, and a Murktide Regent goes away. Okay, so we are probably playing against tempo here. So let's Swords and Orc Army token. I'll get in there. I will attack a Kaito directly. I don't think I am going to pitch cast an Endurance immediately to just clear the graveyard. I think my opponent is pretty likely to be able to refuel it. That's rough. It is. That Bowmaster coming back down. I need to, like, rip lands. I'm not going to block. I need to rip lands to cast these Endurances. But Kaito being X-proof on their turn when it's a creature means my path is not doing it. I think I'm just going to get eaten alive here. A Nethergoyf as well. And a Tamiyo. Okay. So, a path. I think I need a land to be competitive, so I'm gonna say no to that. I think I am in a most things lead to my loss scenario. Like, I have some cute things that I can do, like block a Nethergoyf and then Endurance and kill a Nethergoyf with a cat token, but that doesn't, I think, lead to long-term success. Sure. Yeah, that's pretty bad. Now I can't even chump block with that to gain a few life. I think I'll concede there. So we are playing against tempo, where I think I do like the Rancors to get through Bowmasters and additionally like punch through into Kaito. I think I have boarded correctly. Now I know that pile of Bowmasters was pretty rough. This is an okay pile of cards that I think loses if I get wastelanded. Like, if my opponent just rips off a turn 1 wasteland on Savannah, I think the game is over. It's otherwise pretty strong, because my opponent can't lead on Tamiyo in a way that is meaningful, and Thoughtseize does not beat this hand. Cool. Yeah, that's fine. That's not contributing anything to the board immediately. I'm good with this. That do... Sure. Ocelot Pride is not something that I want to play immediately into my opponent's Bowmaster deck. Okay, looks like counter spells are not on the table. That is a wasteland. I don't like that. Very clearly feels like Orcish Bowmasters to me. So I don't want to play Ocelot Pride into that. I think we are going to go with Bestow here. And I think I don't attack into Bowmasters because my opponent can go Bowmasters, ping, double block, and trade with this Scythecat Cub, which I don't want to do. Opponent takes out my Savannah now. I don't see any reason to do that. That did not enable Fatal Push. Now they don't have this Wasteland to potentially use on their own turn. EE for 2. Pretty annoying. Sure. So now I know that I can get an attack in. For that, now I will play a 1-drop that doesn't die to that EE. My opponent's definitely in a weird spot regarding when to use that EE. I think you do it immediately so that I can't, like, rip a fetch land, play a fetch, and get a couple of 1/1s. They agree. Alright. Well, one of the things I said is that if I got wastelanded, I was going to be in very bad shape. And I absolutely still agree with that. 15, and my only land is a pain land. Not great. Okay, cool. I can get another cat here. Opponent surveils. I don't think I need to endurance the graveyard here. All right, there is a Bowmasters. That was something that we expected. We already got another thing, another card out of it, so it's not the end of the world. There's a Murktide Regent. I have a Swords to Plowshares for that. I sure don't have the land to back it up around days. I think I just have to cast spells here. And I don't think I am attacking in. Thoughtseize is fine. I think my Ocelot Pride is my best card in the hand, but that changes a lot depending on whether or not my opponent has something like another Bowmasters. Alright, they did take it. That's fine. Tarn can clear that Brainstorm. Fatal Push is great. I'm going to block and kill the Bowmasters, I think. That way it can't be picked up with a Kaito later. Sounds good. Okay, cool. Let's get a Scythecat Cub into play. And I'll pass the turn here. I imagine we're going to see another Surveil land. Negative. Goldred's Edict is fine. I don't think I'm going to go so crazy as to like endurance my opponent to stop them from doing Murktide Regent stuff here. I am hoping to just hard cast this next turn. Okay. I'll take one here. 14. Negative. Really just need a little more land here. And I'm starting to have some difficult decisions to make regarding these endurances. Like, it's just insane. If I can just cast it, it'll stabilize the board and stop the Nethergoyf from beating me to death. Hate that. Yep. I can gain some life. I might need to gain some life. Get rid of this one. So I'll clear out that graveyard. That turns this into a 0/1 and buys me a little bit of time. I am cool with a Voice of Victory here. The last card is a Daze. Unfortunate. So now I'm going to take 2 here and potentially 5 on the following turn. All right, cool. I'm probably going to let my opponent like start their turn and then I'll do Endurance. Hardcast Force of Will is a consideration, but so is waiting as long as possible to not let Nethergoyf fuel up. All right, so there's the Endurance. Get punished. I'm taking 5. The Brazen Borrower just gets me in the air there. I am dead. I guess I could take 1 redraw there off the Horizon Canopy. And if it is a Swords to Plowshares, I kill this and maybe don't die. GG. Okay. My opening hand is insane if I am playing against a fair creature deck. Yep. No, this is always a possibility. A Thoughtseize. I guess it's not a Doomsday. I lost Scythecat Cub and a Douthie Voidwalker. Sure. We're playing against a fair creature deck. This is fine. This Noble Hierarch is not really doing me any favors right now. I think I am just going to Swords immediately, rather than taking some damage to play out a Noble Hierarch. I also do potentially want to Swords to Plowshares in case my opponent is a Cabal Therapy deck. Letting them get 3 Swords to Plowshares at the same time with a Cabal Therapy would be crazy. That's fine. I don't care about that land all that much. A Pummeler, which I don't get to either way immediately. I think I'll just Surveil. I don't care about that right now. Like, as cool as that is with Pummeler, I think it is going to be more important to hit more threats. My opponent's hand is probably full of, like, Fatal Push, Shouldered's Edict, Smallpox type cards. Cecil Dark Knight, sure. I don't need to remove that immediately. Okay. So it seems like my opponent is playing mono black aggro. I wonder if their last 2 cards are Dark Ritual Opposition Agent. This is a very strange pause. We are just going to continue to go for Savannahs. I will Guide of Souls and Noble Hierarch, gaining a little bit of energy. Back to 20. Even if my opponent's mono black, they'll probably have Surveil lands in their deck. So, now there we go. They could be a Rakdos aggro deck. There could be Lightning Bolts in here. Nethergoyf to yard. That's some good value. Another swamp. I'll just take 2 from this. That's no big deal. Because this deals 2 to me, and then 2 to my opponent as well. I think I'm going to be interested in using my mana in this turn cycle. I'm going to go ahead and fetch here. Get a Savannah. Bam, bam, bam. So I get an energy immediately, and then I get 3 energy. And now I need to start thinking about what I'm doing with this energy. I think I'm not saving it for Electrostatic Pummeler immediately. I think I go ahead and just do this and put these counters on here. Then this Guide of Souls attack is like totally safe into Orcish Bowmasters. And if I try to do anything cute with Electrostatic Pummeler into Orcish Bowmasters, that maybe doesn't go well for me. There's another land drop for my opponent. 2 damage to you, 2 damage to me. This is below half. Less than or equal to. This fetch land could get weird. I think that's fine. Go ahead and have my opponent put that trigger on the stack. Okay, so they are not fetching in response. Yeah, cool. Then I can just let that all go through. I am now, I think, okay with using one of my 2 copies of swords on that. That's cool. My opponent's got a spell, like that was their chance. Now they just don't. Now that I know this is safe, I can say yes here, make it so that the pummeler does not eat it to a bowmaster's anymore, deal my opponent 6 damage, and outside of something like a fucking damnation, we're pretty good now. My opponent can grab another surveil land. They've got a couple of cards left. If my opponent randomly has Entomb Reanimate or something, I just swords the creature and probably kill them still. Okay, yeah. So I want these. And my opponent has a graveyard-focused deck, so I make this swap again. And again, this is this pattern that I was seeing before in this, like, Graveyard Matters format. As a secondary non-bow here, this is a creature that just dies to Bowmasters, which my opponent is almost certainly running 4 copies of. And I will probably just do something like that. This is a hand, again, where if I get wastelanded, I just lose the game. I really wish that this was a white fetch land. I think I'll very, very reluctantly keep this. I'm very good against Thoughtseize and discard effects. And I have a lot of life gain here for the tempo aspects of my opponent's deck, potentially. I'm going to go ahead and do this turn in an attempt to play 2 of these cards in the same turn next turn. Very nice. Very nice. I'm super happy with that. Yeah, this is still fine. Like, I'll take 1 point of damage this turn. And then I get Guide of Souls, Ocelot Pride. Well, it's going to be double Guide of Souls, Ocelot Pride going. This is totally fine. So, Caracas into Guide of Souls. And there's a good chance that this represents Fatal Push. Am I right? I am right. It is another Wasteland. I am glad that I hit more land drops. I'm going to want another one beyond what I already have here. I will take 2 points of damage. That's not that big of a deal. That's not my preferred color of land, but we'll take it. This has to be a Savannah, unfortunately, to produce white, which means I will be wastelandable yet again. But Guide of Souls is in play. Cool. That is not a wasteland. It does mean that my opponent has real red mana in their deck, and it was not just a random surveil land for the sake of having a surveil land. Douthie is pretty good. That accelerates my opponent's clock quite a bit. Lush Portico. Understood. I think I just do this and get the Lush Portico out of the way. Let's yield to that, and I can start looking for real removal for Douthie Voidwalker. That's fine. Send in for 1. Don't have enough energy right now, but this is all fine. And I think my cat tokens are just okay being 2 points of life here. Bowmasters, yeah, you got it. So I lose Ocelot Pride. This cat token currently means that these can't safely attack next turn. I won't block. It's a little awkward if there's another Bowmaster. I'm interested in Path on Douthie. That means that I have 2 mana to otherwise use. This is the efficient thing to do. I guess I will go with that efficiency. I think I just bestow on a cat token so that I have a 2/2 creature. And I think I am pretty favored if this turn is not devastating for me. Everybody is coming to party. I'm going to eat Douthie with Path, in all likelihood. This gets answered by Endurance in a minute, and now I'm thinking about whether or not I'm interested in another block. I think I'm not, and that's why. My opponent can ping my face, and I'm fine with this trade. Then I will go ahead and path that Douthie because I can't just chump block that later with insect tokens. And I'll come out of this relatively healthy. I'm at 7. Now, like, lands are very, very good for me. I think it is just Endurance here. I think Endurance kind of makes everything just very, very awkward for my opponent in terms of attacks. There's nothing wrong with trying to play both of these creatures either, though. Ooh, I think it's this one. This one dies to Bowmasters later. Goodbye. That's fine. Opponent does not attack. I think I just need to use my mana here and cast the Endurance, even if my opponent can regrow these Nethergoyfs in a minute. We'll clear that graveyard, and then hopefully just out life gain what my opponent is doing. Very nice. So there's Guide of Souls, 4 energy. There's Scythecat Cub, 6 energy. I think I'm the beatdown now. Bam. I think I'm just going to stack up on the Scythecat Cub. This will be the second time this ability resolves this turn. Don't have a Surveil land left. I'm going to do this here. So now I have multiple different defensive bodies, and I can do this. So say yes the first time, put the counters on Guide of Souls. Say yes the second time, put the counters on Endurance. And I will be threatening to kill my opponent next turn, making an all-out attack difficult. Ooh. Now that one does count my graveyard, unlike the Nethergoyf. So I can get 2 energy here. So I have 9 damage in the air, 10 damage in the air even, if I bestow onto Endurance, in which case I'm not gaining life. I think I just regular cast this, which is weird, so that I gain the 2 life. That'll put me to 12. I will still go ahead and crash in with the flyers, but leave the rest back. If I want to go further aggro, I could bestow onto Scythecat Cub, and then it can attack as a 5-power creature that forces a block here. And honestly, that might be good. Yeah, in retrospect, I think I like that. I'll just go ahead and chump. And now Scythecat Cub gets to attack this turn. I have lethal in the air for if my opponent taps out for another one of these. Okay, and we do win the match. I think I should have bestowed here on the previous turn, but we do get there. GG's. Okay, opening hand is going to start out on a Surveil land and then do some other landfall stuff. You could make an argument that you should instead just lead on a normal land and save this for Scythecat Cub, but I think I might need more than what is here. There is an Ocelot Pride. If this is backed by a removal spell, this could get scary. Otherwise, I'm not too worried as of right now. I will say no to that. Elvish Reclaimer. That's okay. I will play my Scythecat Cub. It's something that can, in theory, safely block Ocelot Pride. Alright, it is red-white energy. And opponent is not attacking. That is good. Felia is something that could be coming, though. I could get crazy aggro here, but I think I'm just into doing this and this. Put a counter here and get a friend. I think I'm fine going a little aggro with this Scythecat Cub. A healthy 6 points of damage incoming. If I think Felia is coming, like, there's some other lines that I can take, but they're all a little awkward versus Felia. So, for example, I could Rancor an insect token so that my opponent has to target the insect token with Felia and can't target some warp card or something. I think there's a good chance that they're Blinking this. Ooh, no, they do have the warp card. Going for Guide of Souls. Sure. I imagine my opponent is now playing. Ooh, they have Ephemerate instead. That means that that body stays around. That's significantly worse for me, actually. So now my opponent has another Ocelot Pride and Guide of Souls and can kill this insect token. Okay, no, they are gonna blink the cub. Sure, I'll get my Rancor back. Double block. Double block. I gotta take something out here. I don't think I can beat what is on board and what is in my opponent's hand if I don't take some trades there. So now my Scythecat Cub comes back. That can block an Ocelot Pride next turn. There's still the whole Guide of Souls thing that's coming. Well, Plains, trigger. I do not have 4 green. I'm going to do this. This blocks Ocelot Pride if it attacks. You already trample. Okay with doing this. I scale up next turn. There's 3 power. I don't live through this yet, which is awkward. I just scale up so that I can attack. 6, 7, 8, 9 damage this turn. Maybe I do that so my attack is fine. So this gives me an attack for 9. That is safe. The next turn, we'll see where I can go with some combination of landfall, redraw, and rancor. But my opponent can gain a stupid amount of life, frankly, especially if they have another white land. Oh, right, they can just tutor up the plains, because that's how that works. So this is bad. So Guide of Souls number 1, Ocelot Pride number 2, Ocelot Pride number 3 with the City's Blessing. So if you have never seen what is about to happen, it's not good for me. So at end of turn, there are 3 Ocelot Pride triggers. The first one resolves, giving my opponent 2 tokens. Now the second one resolves, and it sees all of these other tokens. And the same is true of the third one, which will now copy all of those tokens that were made by the other 2. Making it very, very, very difficult for me to now aggro my opponent out. I think this is the point where I concede. I can take a redraw off of Horizon Canopy. I don't think it's changing anything. Not even with a fetch land. Yep. The inevitability over there got me. This is probably a matchup where I board my 3 Path to Exiles, but I don't change anything else. I don't like the scale ups here, because my opponent is, in theory, going to have a bunch of cat tokens and creatures that can just jump in the way, so it's not super relevant without trample. And I'll maybe trim one of those. I'm going to keep this hand, and now the question is, do I play Ocelot Pride on turn 1 or Noble Hierarch? I think I just play Ocelot Pride with the hopes that I am attacking in with it next turn and playing the second Ocelot Pride. We can do this off of basic, I suppose. And sometimes I just pull ahead before my opponent has a chance to do anything too crazy. Alright, it is a Swords to Plowshares immediately. Now I think I'll flop down the Scythecat Cub in hopes of maximizing its landfall potential. My opponent's deck is just a leaner version of what I am doing. Amped Raptor into Ajani. Not the biggest fan of that. I think I'm going to hope that my opponent does not. I don't really want to bounce that. I might just need to. It's just such good value for my opponent to be able to replay that and get another cat. But I don't really want to just kind of ruin the rest of my turn. So I'll throw down Ocelot Pride as well. I can attack with this as a 4-power creature and trade with both bodies. I don't think I want to do that because I will just be significantly stronger next turn. But I already kind of feel like I'm running on fumes, unfortunately. Wasteland is okay. It means that my opponent can kind of dominate the whole Caracas situation. And now my attacks are going to be bad unless I draw a removal spell for this. It means my blocks aren't great either. And my opponent has a red creature. I hate this. Yeah, the combat math is so far in favor of my opponent right now. I think I'm going to take a redraw. I think this is that bad. Oh, just sack, draw a card. Damn. play out another one of these. I don't really think that I can attack. I think the Planeswalker version of this eats me alive. Yep. That's a Plains. Opponent can potentially be setting up for Ephemerate here. Nope. Yeah, I can't realistically block that creature. This Planeswalker hits for so much. 17. This goes away. Yikes. I'll do the redraw thing again. I'll keep stacking up here in case I can break through this. Yeah. Okay, cool. Now I imagine that I let my opponent make a bad block, and then I swords, just try to extract a little bit of extra value. Yeah, always yield to that. So we'll go through for some damage. Deal 6, put that trigger on the stack. Swords the Ajani. Caracas is not up right now. Now I'm in better shape. My opponent's cards are good, though. I'm scared. Alright, opponent needs more mana. Basic mountain, sure. Okay, so we are doing warp nonsense here. So there's a life. Oh, yeah, that's not great. So my opponent is letting me go to blocks. I will attempt to first strike that out of existence. Or do I attempt to trade Ocelot Prides? Maybe I attempt to trade Ocelot Prides. My Ocelot Pride is not doing me any favors here. I imagine this is going at Scythecat Cub, yeah. So we trade Ocelot Prides. My board's really bad. I need to top deck probably a removal spell, and my opponent has a, yikes, Starfield Shepherd queued up. Voice of Victory. That doesn't feel strong enough here. I'm going to say no to that. I'll send in for 2. I think this game is over in my opponent's favor. 15. All right, there is Halia. My opponent another life. Note there is Caracas there as well. But I am basically dead now, so I'm going to concede. My opponent can throw this at my face for 5 in addition to all of this damage that I would be taking. That was rough. GG's. Okay, opening hand is kind of mediocre. It has lots of land for landfall, and I guess I could try to select for another threat. I am often running a little light on mana. Oh no, we're dead. We're going to just full on lose this match, I think. That helps a bit, I guess. So now I can play Noble Hierarch into Scythecat Cub next turn and scale that up with a fetch land immediately, and maybe I hit another fetch land after that to double the counters again. Or alternatively, I play Scythecat Cub into Lush Portico next turn. Sure. It does have to target their own card. They're just cycling immediately. Without Wasteland in this deck, I don't think I can win this matchup. Yeah, I guess I could save the fetch land for next turn. Do this. Play Caracas. I think the +1/+1 counter here is more important than the 1 energy for Guide of Souls. Then I can get 2 counters to 4 counters next turn. But we're already to like 1 ring mana over there. Yeah, I already thought we were never going to win this matchup before I knew my opponent was a Karn Sylex build. But if they are the version that has multiple copies of Karn Sylex, like, I'm donezo. So we'll, I guess, go in for as much damage as I can get here. So land drop, put on Scythecat Cub. God damn it. Players can't pay life to cast spells or to activate abilities that aren't mana abilities. F. Forgot about that portion because it's usually not relevant. 7 damage. So this nukes my board. I'll get my Rancor back, but I don't have a threat to put it on. I think we're dead. Like, this can just be lattice, and if I miss on a threat, I am always dead. This could also just be a 1 ring, and I think that always beats me too. Yeah. So let's try to find a threat with Lush Portico. Karn pluses to 4. Exalted plus Rancor doesn't do the trick there. I'm going to say no to that. And then we miss. I'm dead to Mycosynth Lattice or the 1 ring here. I think I'll full on concede. I don't think I can win this matchup. My opponent just goes so much bigger. I have to get 2 fast aggro kills in a row. Do I want Force of Vigor? Force of Vigor does not reduce my opponent's life total to 0. I'm going to say no. Force of Vigor also does not answer the One Ring. I have to be going for aggro kills through Karn Silex. Oh, also, what's the exact wording of Karn Silex? Does that stop me from using Horizon Canopy for colored mana? I sure hope not. I don't remember off the top of my head if there's a unless it's a mana ability type clause in there. No! I really wanted that active this turn for these tokens. So this is worth 3 damage next turn, this is worth 2 damage next turn, this is worth 2 to 4 damage next turn. I'm going to play the thing that attacks for the most encased planeswalkers are relevant. Basic Forest, cool. Crop Rotation, less cool. Now my opponent is on 4 mana for the One Ring or Karn or whatever. Yep. Hate that. I mean, scale up is neat. I think I will go double Ocelot Pride this time in an attempt of going wide of my opponent. Attack out of spite. It will make more friends that are attacking. They will also attack out of spite and then do nothing. Opponent loses 1 to their One Ring. They're in an incredibly good position. That is Karn the Great Creator. Tutoring. Or a new copy of the One Ring. Sure. My opponent is going to get to Fog again next turn. So I am into Scythecat Cub. Land drop. I'll put a +1/+1 counter on an Ocelot Pride so that I gain the life. I will then fetch. Do an untapped land here. I'll put the +1/+1 counter on that Ocelot Pride. Do I have lethal? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, +5, 13, +2 from the ring. Let's recount that. So this is 6, 7, 8, 9, 9 +3, 12, +2. That's not doing it. Okay. So I'm going to still cast this on an Ocelot Pride, I think. So I'll kill Karn with this. I'll send this at face. I'll send this at face. I'll mobilize and send those at face. Karn dies. Opponent is at 6. So we've got multiple Ocelot Prides, and I get to create a lot of warrior tokens that I am going to keep. My opponent can survive another turn with the One Ring, and some sort of Karn's Silex nonsense could bail them out of all of these permanents, unfortunately. So there's the new One Ring for protection. They'll draw their card. I guess now it's mostly, can I bottleneck them on mana to the point where they can't deploy something else? A Spirit Guide lets them cast Once Upon a Time. Finding a Cloud Post. Sure. I still very easily could lose this one, I think. Well, that helps a bit. Yeah, I can't gain life with my lifelink here. I will just chill and pass the turn. Opponent is at 4, now 3. It's an Ugin the Spirit Dragon that can beat me here, I think. Another One Ring could also buy them another turn and give them some redraws. As a Kozilek's command, taking out the Collector Oof. It doesn't even cost my opponent that much mana. 9 cards in hand. Do they have another One Ring? They do have another One Ring. That is most unfortunate. So they get more redraws here. That is 3 of the 4 One Rings. They don't get to do that again. I mean, I guess they could. It's unlikely. A Crop Rotation, sure. I can give my opponent a very large burst of mana. Not immediately. I'm going to just Swords one of these, because I am almost certainly going to cycle my Horizon Canopy immediately this turn. Actually, let's thin a card from the deck. Let's go Bam, counters there, Fetch, Savannah, double the counters on Ocelot Pride. I can now crack this and attempt to hit another Collector Oof, which I don't do. My opponent has protection from the One Ring. So I unfortunately pass here. My opponent is at 2 and now has a gajillion mana. And I expect that my opponent is going to play an Ugin and trivialize the remainder of this game. That's Karn. Is the final one ring in the sideboard? No, it is not. We win that one. Now we have to do it again. Is Karn's Sylex so bad for me that I need Force of Vigor to attempt to disrupt that? That's very narrow timing for that to work properly, because I really need the Force of Vigor in hand the turn that the Sylex is played. This is fine. It's got a turn 2 Collector Oof. I don't know that this is going to aggro hard enough. Do I play Elvish Reclaimer on turn 1? Probably. It's worth thinking about, I suppose, because it means that it is a fetch land that is not being used to power up a Scythecat Cub. But if I'm not playing Scythecat Cub until turn 3 anyway, I'm not sure that that's actually relevant. Once upon a time. For a Planar Nexus, that'll power up that Cloud Post. That is an immediate Dismember, which I guess I am happy that it is being used on that and not on this Collector Oof that I am now going to throw down before my opponent can activate the One Ring. Did not eat another Dismember end of turn. So much mana. Feels like a Kozilek's command to exile my Collector Oof. I was planning on making copies of that. That did not pan out. At least my opponent bottomed most of their cards. So there's a Scythecat Cub, and I will start stacking up counters on it. I can go ahead and surveil here. I know what sort of stuff I'm looking for. Although I suppose there is no difference between doing this now and doing this later. I am not looking for Ocelot Pride. That is not a card named Collector Oof. It's basically Collector Oof and fetch lands that I'm looking for. That is another removal spell. That's 1 top, 4 to the bottom. I think I'm going to try to build up 1 large trampling creature here. I'll get my counter, and I will go ahead and bestow. So now I have some ability to threaten a planeswalker that comes down so that it doesn't end the game, but I am just so horrified of something like the One Ring spinning this game on a dime, or Ugin, as I've already talked about. We just don't beat that, yeah. So unfortunately, my opponent has powered through my early threats and my Collector Oof that would stop this, so I am not expecting to win. A random Bojuga Bog. Oh no, there's more still. A Crop Rotation. Here's a lot of mana on board now. So I will play in a way where I can still have something left over in theory, but it's turn 6, my opponent is more or less at full life, so I'm not expecting much here. But boy, howdy, I can make some triggers. Oh, Bristly Bill, though. Yep. Having all 4 of my permanents trigger off of a fetch land would have been sick. That is a blocker. That's fine. Windswept Heath. Reasonable. It is Noble Hierarch instead. Alright, well. Yeah. Aunch. This will be 6. And I imagine that my opponent will take it all rather than just block for 2 here. I'm wrong, apparently. Opponent goes to 11 and then to 9. Still fully expecting to lose. My opponent has seen like half of their deck. Ugh. Filtering into green with Nexus for a Once Upon a Time. Yeah. So now my opponent has the big dumb scary thing that can start eating all of my permanents. And this is what I have been afraid of all the matches. Because it doesn't matter how many things I have on board. If that comes down, my opponent will just eat. Yeah. Fuck this. I'm out. GG's. And that brings us to the end of a league with a 1-4 record. Overall thoughts on the deck list. Legacy is too fast for shit that looks like this. I'm sorry, Sammy. Even with some acceleration in the form of Noble Hierarch, playing a 3-mana creature that requires you to untap for it to do more or less anything, and then have to have setup on top of that is really, really tough. I tried to put together a string of things that were synergistic with it, with the scale ups and the rancors and the Guide of Souls, and for what you asked me to do, I did an okay job. But Electrostatic Pummeler is, I think, not even viable in a smaller format like Modern. I did a little hunting around prior to the league in deck lists for other formats, and there aren't too many results with something like this. So while this is a sweet creature, I think if you want to be doubling up on stuff, about the best you could do in Legacy is probably Tifa. I think Tifa is doing the same sort of thing at one lower spot on the curve in a way that synergizes better with the Legacy card pool with things like crop rotation. I don't think you can build this as like an Ancient Tomb deck. I think you need the support from colored permanents if you are going to get energy. So like you could try to do Naya energy with Electrostatic Pummeler. I still don't think that's super viable, and I think your mana is rough. You could try to slot this into something like Infect, where you do Invigorates and Berserks, but like you don't even max out on Tifa's in Infect usually, and that is lower to the ground than Electrostatic Pummeler. The Springhearts didn't do that great this league. The Scythecat Cubs were great, though. The Noble Hierarchs ate a lot of Bowmaster triggers, but were otherwise fine. Maybe the deck needs like a 23rd land. Like maybe you play a Dryad Arbor and one Green Sun, or maybe you rebuild this to be a Green Sun deck, or I don't know. This one kind of stumped me. I am not happy with how the deck turned out. We played reasonable games of Magic, and the Rancors and Scales Up took some Planeswalkers by surprise, sort of like Unstable Mutation did in that Simic League that I played a while back with Tifa. And maybe there's something to like swinging the combat math in ways that aren't expected with cards that look like that within the constraints of Legacy. But I think this challenge was a tough ask. I'm not happy with the deck. I think this is a back to the drawing board moment. But honestly, I think this is an abandoned ship on the idea, and you save Electrostatic Pummeler for your Energy Commander deck or something like that. Alright, with that, I think I'm going to call it a day. I was thoroughly bested here, but I hope it was enjoyable to watch anyway. Have a great rest of the day, folks. See ya!